Welcome to the Sacred Heart Valley's Spotlight of May, and we have Wendy Phillis, that is my dearest friends, dearest priestess sisters. Journey, we journeyed for like 12 months back in 2021. Is it 2021? I think it's 2021. Yeah, back in 2021 for 12 months. And not only it's actually two containers. So one is priestess, um, modern priestess. Another one is centered priestess. So two spaces that we journey. So to journey as priestess, that's the first time for me. And with somebody that is so holding space that is coming from Australia as well. It's just like a next door neighbor. It's so powerful for me, and I was very vulnerable as well because I had awakening myself and only one person in the family, no friends, very lonely. And when I met Wendy then in Australia, I was, oh yes, I can speak to it, and I speak a lot, ask a lot of questions. And back in the day when we in a sisterhood, like very intimate sisterhood, she holds such a powerful space that I never experienced.
Yeah. Thank you. And it's
Thank you
such an
so much.
honor to be with you, Lillian, and have traveled with you deeply.
Yeah, that
Mm,
recall a lot of memory immediately and feeling.
yeah.
And she washed through that divine mother's energies. And that is also the source energies that I feel around me.
Mm.
Ooh. So today I have really much privilege to invite Wendy to join the community circle, to be able to share that magic of her even further, and I can see a lot of expansion within her. And I also be in your journey, Wendy. Back at the scene that I seen you on social media, and also that feeling her a lot of deep feeling for her of her journey. So I will let Wendy to introduce herself and all of this, how she's coming into this really remarkable and amazing of these magical women over serving that specific the women's actually over 50s that is so potent of that queen energies. For me, that is really a wisdom ancient queen energy. So I'm sure that today everybody have to, if you journey archetype, today I'm feeling into that what is this queen energy. So when we see this social media, the queen, this energy always like this on the throne, cold queen and all of that. And I know that is today I've really tasted something different as this grounded mother queen have a word for us.
Mm. Mm.
So it's so powerful. So Wendy, thank you so much for today, and I will give you the space
Mm.
to you now. And before that, I wanted to welcome Alan here. And yes.
Mm.
Mm,
Thank you, dear Lillian.
yeah.
I was crying too. It's such an honor to be with other women. And this is something we deeply yearn for. These sacred, safe spaces where we can come together and be real with each other and open and vulnerable and feel holding. I feel like we so yearn for this in this discombobulated world that we live in. We yearn for our hearts to be together. And this time in our life, over 50, approaching to 50, 60, 70, 80 is a powerful time in our life. And about 6 years ago, I started to really look at this time. What was this time about? Because a lot of women fear reaching this age and living through this time. Sorry, there's a mosquito running around here, running around, flying. We have a lot of fear. And I know, and most probably you know too, the world is set up to encourage us to buy into this fear because we fear being in our power. We know if a woman is really in her power, she's a powerhouse. If there were a huge amount of women in this world that were in their power, this world would be completely different. And we used to have a matriarchal system where we were so connected to the mother, the earth, and our bodies are the earth. And we would flow with the seasons and honor the earth and be just in such close connection with her. But this was dismantled through many things, but mainly what we call patriarchy, and religion, and women were deemed as evil. And this brought in, the witch hunts and all of that. But it was I'm going to use the word rape the land from the women and take control and domination of the land and also our bodies to pull us out of our power. So when we come now in this day and life and we encounter so much fear around our power, it's ancestral and it's more than that. The culture is invested in keeping us small, keeping control on us. So how can they control us? They can put the fear in us about this time of our life. They can put the fear in us about women being in our power. So it's about this trying to keep us small, trying to envelop us in this fear. And what are we fearing? Aging as well as our power. We are in such a youth-oriented system. The maiden is so revered, and we are seen like if we move away from this maiden and then into mother, it's like, what are we going to do with these women? And we are a force. Lillian talked about this different stage in our life that traditionally we haven't seen. And so there used to be traditionally like these 3 stages in a woman's life: maiden, mother, crone. But there's a new stage in there between mother and crone, which some women call maga, some call queen. You can call it anything you want. But it's this powerful time. We are all on this journey about reclaiming who we are, but more so at this time in our life. And so if we're someone who hasn't reclaimed who we are and living from our true nature, this is the time when things get really heated up. And so through this fear of being in our power and fear of aging, it keeps us in a kind of a place where we can be controlled. And we get distracted trying to fix ourselves, not just embody this beautiful time in our life. We fear it and we try and fix ourselves. We have to lose weight. We have to look a certain way. So many women are going and having Botox and what's that, facial thing that they do. You know, we just get caught up in all of this, and it's to distract us from being in this powerful time and hearing this call, this internal call from our soul or our heart to come home, wake up. So if you haven't been a woman that's in her power and in your true nature and fully living that, this can be a very tricky time in our lives because we're being asked to wake up and call out, come home. So what can happen in this time is there are lots of challenges. And if we can just take this away from this talk, this would be very potent for you, is that when you turn 50 and you start going through all these challenges, and I'll talk to that in a moment, is just to remember this is that inner call from your soul, your heart, to come home to yourself, to claim your power, to live from your authentic self. But we get bumped around a lot. So what are these challenges that I'm talking about? It can be divorce, separation, death of a partner, death of our parents. It can be losing our home, losing our career, losing income, ill health. There's so many challenges that come to a woman over 50. But if we can just remember this inside magic is this calling home to our power, not to start to get bounced out of ourselves, to stay in our center, to really cultivate that authentic relationship with your authentic self. So we're all born in our true nature. And if I can just take it back a little bit further, even before we were born, this is my take on life, is that we were connected to everything in spirit, and we made a decision to come down here. We knew that stepping into a human body, we would forget completely our connection to spirit. We would forget that we're these marvelous beings that are so powerful. And we come down for a reason. We don't want to just come down and be wounded and slapped around and have a really bumpy, struggling time through our beliefs. It was just to individuate ourselves, just to orientate ourselves. But we forget all of this. And so this particular time in our life, if we haven't reconnected with who we are, these challenges are these wake-up calls. And so the worst thing we can do for ourselves is go and try and fix ourselves. Reach out for drugs or whatever, like it's this call to come home inside of ourselves, to get to know ourselves really well. And it's this powerful time for us to embody our power, to be set on fire. And I think I might get slapped around for this idea, but I think, the hot flushes that a lot of women have is this heating of our body to go, come on, wake up. But it also comes in different ways. Ellen was talking before about breaking her back. That's an initiation. That's a huge challenge. It could be other things, estrangement from your children. It could be a whole range of things, but it's this wake-up call to remember who we are. Because this time in our life, if we think about the Queen, as this archetype, it's time to sit on our thrones. It's time to put our crowns on. It's not time to be feeling wounded. And, I know life is very difficult, especially at this time. But if we stay in this wounding and this, what I call an egoic orientation, we are in suffering, constant suffering. And then when this time comes along with these challenges, it kind of heats up the vessel, it turns the dial up and the volume on the suffering. But it's this call to come home, to know who we are, to step into our power. So we have to clean up. What's our relationship with power? Power is something really challenging for a woman. And I'll tell you about my struggle with power. So I was told, oh, you're a real powerful woman. Okay, yeah, I'm a powerful woman. But I did not want to even be a woman. When I was growing up, I didn't want to be a woman because women in the 50s were tending to be on the bottom end of the ladder. So there was this, like top of the ladder, let's say, was father, then children, and then the dogs, and then the house, and the cooking, and all of that. And then we were at the bottom. I was looking through my whole lensing through this. Why would I want to be a woman? So my first journey was about reclaiming my relationship with being a woman. But then it was about power. And so in the world, we see that, like women tend to be very manipulative, manipulative in our sexuality and so forth. Why would I want to be a powerful woman? And that's the framework we have. No. And so then it was like, okay, I'm this powerful woman. How can I be this? So I stepped into power and control like a man, you know, and totally separated myself from my authentic power. So I had a long, bumpy ride about being powerless and then in my power, and not in power and control, but being connected to my heart, to be in deep service to other people and service to myself. So power can be a tricky thing for women to really clean up around the edges of this. What are we holding in relationship to ourselves of being powerful women? We can go again into this fear and be frozen. I don't want to be like this. But it's about what is our authentic power. And so what I have found in my life is connecting to my intuition. And as a woman, we are so connected to our intuition, but we don't trust it these days. We are so intuitive, but we lead a life that tends to be from here, doing lots of things, trying, fixing, and we're on this roller coaster ride that is invested to keep us there, because if we were in our power and our intuition, this whole world would be completely different. So when I talk about your authentic power or who you truly are, the way I connect with that is through my intuition. And intuition is with you all the time. And I guide women to come back and work with their intuition, to guide them. So I'm just wondering if anyone's got a question at all before I just ramble on.
Well, I don't have a question, Wendy, but I do agree with you. When I was growing up, it was the same thing. I wanted to be a boy. I used to run around and say, "Oh, my name's Alan. I'm not Ellen," because within the structure of my household, it was very, very, very patriarchal. And my lineage is very patriarchal. And I was the second daughter, and I was weak. And I knew it wasn't like a real transgender thing, which I believe is something different. It was that I knew as a child that that was where the power was, and that I didn't have any. And then, like you, Wendy, there's, you grab it as a, as an Aries, I've got that masculine anyway, you know? And, when you grab it like a man, you act like a man. That's not it. And the only other thing I did want to mention is that I actually just started a class last week on transcending inherited trauma, the whole ancestral thing. And I believe many, many women at this time are almost the fulcrums for the ancestors and the descendants, the future descendants, to be in the way we should be, the power that is ours, not what men think we should be, or what men decide, okay, honey, you can do that. You know what I mean? Whatever, Men don't understand. They just don't understand the mysteries. They don't. And and they I think they try to keep us afraid because they're afraid. Come on, we bleed and don't die. And we get to create, and we have another human inside of us. Really? That's a scary thing, I think, for a man. It's just not. They just don't think the same way we do, and they're just the power is different. So that's all. I not really a question, but a statement.
Yes. And see, there's a real difference between patriarchal power that we kind of live under these days, and it is that power and control. And if women, let's say, were in more powerful places, but in their hearts and they're in their matriarchal power, let's say, this whole world would be different, because we would be coming from love. We would be coming from our hearts. We would be taking care of children. We wouldn't be sending our women out to constantly be working, and stressing them out. We would be supporting the woman who wants to be at
Yep.
home with her children.
Mm-hmm.
We would be looking after our elderly. This whole world would be completely different if more women were living from their power. Yes. And so I just want to also talk to this time when we're in these challenges, in these initiations, and being bumped out of our center. I call it the uncharted terrain. And immediately, from my observation of my life as well as other women, is that we go to this place outside of ourselves first, instead of trusting what's happening, mainly because we're not connected to our bodies. We're not connected to our intuition, our internal navigation system. We reach outside of ourselves for a fix. And men many years ago used to label this time, like over 50, as women in hysterical, crazy, because they couldn't control us. If a woman was in her power, she'd be standing like a solid tree, deeply nourished to the earth, her branches out wide, beaming, and, caring and sitting in sisterhood and loving other women up to rise and shine. That's what sisterhood is about. It's not about competition. And so they set us against ourselves many years ago with the witch stuff, and they're still doing that. But we can point the finger outside of ourselves. It's men. It's not men. It's a system that we tend to be buying into, and that it is continuing, particularly for women who are moving towards 50, is this fear arises because we have been fed this idea it's all downhill from here. And it's not. It's not. If you're a woman who reclaims your power and lives from your authentic self, life changes and it blossoms. Yes, you will have challenges. That's part of life, and that's growth. Get a great sisterhood. Cultivate great relationships with other women. Get real with each other. Don't buy into, we're all wounded and that kind of trip. Encourage everyone to lift up. Remember who they are. Claim back who they are and live a life that what we came for. Come back to our hearts. What do our hearts truly desire? And when you're connected with intuition, you get that picture. And you think, it's because, maybe I want a man or a house or this amount of income. Guarantee you a lot of things that we desire are not always those things. Of course, we'd love a beautiful partnership. Of course, we'd love a lovely home. But living the life that is what our heart truly desires is something that is nourishing and constantly growing us. So get a sisterhood, even if that's just another 2 friends, and hang out with them, or find your place, a sacred, safe place where you can go and be real with other women and share and lift each other up. And let's nourish ourselves instead of pulling ourselves down. So, is there anything else, Lillian?
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you, Wendy, for reflecting all of that. So I do have a few things also I wanted to reflect as well. So I know that when I wanted to host this in the group, like sort of advertising, sharing, and I've been asked, you're not over 50 yet, what do you know? And I said, I responded, not reacting, I responded, I have been many, many, many times over 50s. Many times, and that is in my body that I remember. And at this that's this human, I'm 46, also not far from 50. So I said that it's not about the number. So yeah, we all have that, this number being tied down like over 50, like the sound, like going downhill. Right. And we said I'm 18, 18, like you go. It kind of sound, it's just like, what is that? So that was the first impression that when it is really interesting to sort of like witness that. So the moment that prior to this, I hosted just the inner circle of these only 3 person. We're doing sort of this like project and assignment, and we wanted to bounce the voices on it. And it goes to really deep. But of course, this coming along with Wendy, and it's just another flavor of it, and it's deeper holding of more expansion feeling. So I wanted to tap into when you talk about these patriarchy and matriarchy as well. Of course, it's not only that we know, it have been like many, many eons that have been doing, have the words coming into the word matriarchy and patriarchy is only coming into when the human have the word. But prior to that, it is a village, a valley that is harmoniously, that is living together. And then for many, many, many years, there's no you, there's no me, there's just harmoniously. And then one day, there's other people agenda is not human form. They're dropping the bomb. They're dropping whatever it is. And in the summary, I would call it as just imbalanced energies. And then it started to manipulate. And matriarchy also have a huge wounding of manipulations of the man. It's not only the man only. The man doesn't know less or more compared to us. It's just the same. But because like you said, ancient time, the marketing is just like huge, right? So from there, it's actually a lot of women feeling this, this energy like competition, manipulations, jealousies, and it manipulate the man. The man fall into the trap.
I put my toys inside.
Okay. And then the man collectively wounded, and they have nowhere to voice up. They don't have a really good brotherhood like sisterhood that bring into this current century that is still don't have many of these, compared to, let's say the word compared to sisterhood. We all know that. And just like, where's the man? We always ask, where's the man? But how well do the sisterhood is in the circle? There's also a lot of manipulative sisterhood. And, it's sort of like going into big circle, creating a smaller circle, becoming even two circle is still, the wounding and trauma is still there. But the voice is important, like, Ellen talking about the voice and Wendy talking about sharing all of that. And when we come into our own alignment, I know that acceptance is a huge thing. Accepting whatever you are. And all of us is just like a mirror. Individual may still have this jealousy and this low density words or mindset or thought form. When our sisters mirroring us, we can learn so much. That's why Wendy said that just couple as friends, just be you. And sometimes it just is okay to be angry. It's okay to be like a fire, right? It's okay to swear. It's okay to swear. And it's just like, swearing is, you can swear in a joy. Try that. So yeah. So it's just like because you bring into this, this, you swear your anger, you're not happy in a safe space, you're not harming other people. So because all of that is just an energy. So allow the energy to pass through you. Otherwise, it's really stuck. Like Wendy said, when you're up to this, whatever age, right? This coming, like sickness coming, health problem, emotional stuckness, and just all of that is actually so much is inside. It's not like now, it has been long time. So when we awaken, then we will know it, it's time to release all of that so that we can transcend those feeling of that and witness ourselves the journey. That is the powerful one. That is the power within that we are holding. And we remember that it's all inside us, saying we bring that energy, that bring that wisdom that we had, that go into, we are going to live in the living in this beautiful body. And I really, really want to bring into that plan with you, Wendy. When you're talking about that flashes and all of that, oh, I know what does that really mean. It's the inner intimacy that is like, hi, I'm knocking on the door. You have not looked at me, the life force, the inside, that I want to play with you. So bringing into my own personal stories, that when I had this one, my third one when I was 40,
Hello.
and then the God angel sent me all of these, the third time initiation that I woke up after 6 months. And then like Wendy as well, the first thing that is divine women's that you are, all these normal conventions women I was transmuting along the journey is like, how do I mother myself first? So I learned it in such a painful way. And that isn't so much needed because that pain is actually in our body to transmute that. And now when you're talking about, this divorce and all of that, and but 2022, my relationship with 22 years of marriage got shifted. A lot of these learning of coming back to self, I awakened, my spiritual awakening is self-love. I didn't even know what is love. And in the ego was that, well, if I know how I should love, how am I gonna make? I made 3 babies. It's completely different meaning. So I was like, my heart is alive. There's heart here. There's definitely got love there. But from there, I knew that it's the numbness, that not feeling the love for myself. Because like my grandmother passed away, my 2 dogs passed away. I did not cry. And I haven't cried for a long time.
Yes, you have.
Yeah. After her, heart awakening. And
You ain't amazing.
so we heart awakening through also the body awakening. So when you talk about that flame, Wendy, all part of my body inner, that life force has been activated for, which is last year. Finding and building and rekindle of that flame and that aliveness in the body. Whoa. So that is another power within that we have. So when you share all of that, it's just like, yes, 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 I've been there. And I'm continuously still going to, I'm building, well, creating, building, connecting with, with my lover, a new relationship, consciously, they call it as a conscious relationship. But for me to really connecting, or who is the person that I'm with, the present. And it's not like you said, not the home and where and all of that. Yes, they are important, but I feel at the moment is who you are with and building across that relationship. The home is become part of us in here. And that is what am I sharing here today at this moment. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so presencing that, because that's so important in a woman's life, is to know that home within and to have that grounded and centered in yourself, because otherwise we're just looking outside of ourselves for something that nourishes us, loves us. But it's that inward journey that is so important first. And I think as a woman over 50, I think that's part of that huge calling, is to come home to yourself. Because when we die, we're the only one who is passing. If we don't have that beautiful relationship with ourselves, you know, you might come to your deathbed and you think, why didn't I listen? Why didn't I come home? What was I so afraid of about being true to myself and being real with myself? And that waking up is so important.
Do you have a couple of the question that is from our community to you? So the first one is the intimacy of the women over 50. So that was sort of like a secret. I was like, that's not a secret. And I'm going to give it to Wendy to answer that. Of course, I know that it's not a secret because after the body awakening, I know that no. It's not downhill. It's actually really uphill.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
So
you know
a
what?
lot of women experience and think we just have, let's say, dry yonis after this time. I can only speak from my personal experience. I am like a waterfall, and I'm a deeply sensual, sexual woman, and it is a real part of me. It's part of my true nature. And if I truly allowed myself just to really be free with that, I'd mostly be just running around and making love everywhere. And I don't want to, maybe I'll come to a time where I will just do that, but there's nothing wrong with it. And we hear about this low libido. Now, I've got a background in Chinese medicine. So low libido is very connected to our kidney energy. And the kidneys and the liver change when we start going through menopause. And from my perspective, if you're someone who is connected to her power and connected to your true nature, you don't have to have, let's say, low libido if that's not true for you. If it is, then okay, you want to be celibate or whatever. But I've spoken to so many women over 50 where the heat rises, and I'm not talking about hot flashes. It's like we want to be making love. We want to be fully in our bodies and expressing our bodies sexually. For me, I want someone that I'm heart connected to. It's not about just being crass, bonking someone. It's more an expression of who I am. But women tend to think that we're going to go into low libido and we're going to have dry yonis. And I know from people who do experience dry yonis, it is painful. So I don't want women experiencing that. But from my experience, I'm such a juicy woman. I really am, literally and emotionally and all of that. And for me, it's the total opposite of that. So I don't know if you're actually talking to that, but that would be what I'm going to share.
Yes, that is spot on. So I also hear women's about that, and when this is when I connected to those intimacy when I had my own body awakening, and I am also for like when I have body awakening, I was a lot of focusing inwards of what is that? What is that? And just asking all of these, like all the W's question, 1H question, all of that, so that I learn my body. And my body can talk to me. So deep listening, then those that what do they need? So for me, it's also from, I remember, it's sort of like when I have like, when the body awakening is the fountain of youth. Like you said, is literally, is constantly and continuously. And that is the creative energy, that's the life force energy too. So whether we notice that or not, and then if we are not going into this emotional healing of ourselves, is stuck in our womb space, because as a woman, we are absorbing naturally, we absorb everything unconsciously, and that become a lot of stuckness in the body, and especially in the womb space, the biggest organ internally, and all this, and you say kidney and liver, that is yin and yang as well. The water is not balanced. There's dry up, no water. As simple philosophy like that. So by working on our emotions that bring into this pleasure, intimacy, joy, reflecting the relationship as allowing yourself to be open-hearted, that is the first thing that our body need to feel safe to do that. Because there's a lot of the fear being coming along in a way that our experiences, our journey, and all of that, right? Again, transmutation to transcend that emotion is the first thing. That is how my body did to heal. And then when I was creating a lot of projects and all of that, and I will feel into this, I was like, why the water's coming out? I was like, am I having a period? And I went to the toilet. Wait, am I squatting? So I will create images and all that. I literally create until my square. And I was at work. Lucky I wear black pants, but it's still, I don't have extra undies. Like I never need to prepare it. And I have panty liner either on my, and it just wet. And it's heavy. I was like, okay. And nothing. I just use tissue and that's it. But you know what? I have to constantly and change. So I was like, wow. I said, that is the power that we have. That power within that we can use that. That is the medicine. There's a sacred nectar that in us that bring my body a lot of joy on that dive onwards. So that is a sweetness of life coming.
Yeah,
So
it's interesting in Chinese medicine,
mm,
menopause is called the second spring.
oh yes, I know that, yeah.
And I just find I'm so juicy, you know,
Mm,
and I even just went and had like an internal just to check my uterus.
mm,
And the lady said, oh, do you want me to put on lube or what? And I said, I think I'm okay,
mm,
It's not always a common thing, but I can only speak for myself and women that I know really intimately, really well,
mm,
is that when we're kind of in our passionate life, and that's got nothing to do with, like being a
external
passionate
world.
love or anything.
Mm,
If we are connected to who we truly are,
yeah.
and we're doing what ignites us and turns us on, there's
Mm,
this passion, there's this fire, there's this juice that is running through us. And I want that for every woman. I want that for every woman.
mm,
I'm devoted to that
mm,
because it's not this downhill ride. I think it's up. It can level out at times, but then I want women to be in their ecstatic juiciness.
mm. As we talk about up and down, it is actually the state of being of our own body. It's supposed to be like that. So yeah. So that is the healing coming into the traumatic that women carry or some baggage that we carry that we do not want to let go as well. We don't know how to surrender as well. So in the sisterhood, like even during like this circle as well, being raw is really important. Also that allow yourself to be really raw as well. And yeah. Mm.
It's a liberation, I feel, for women to be raw with each other. It does take a little bit of like courage, let's say, to do that. But when you have someone you can be really real with, and maybe you have a group of those people, life is very juicy because there's nothing off limits, and you don't have to be like, oh, I've got to hide this, or oh, I'm ashamed of this. No, we're all heart beings. Let's connect heart to heart. I feel like there's nothing that can't be put on the table to talk about, because who else have we got to talk to? If we've got a great partner, yeah, great. But a woman is different, and a woman to woman conversation is different. And as I said before, we yearn for these places. Our hearts yearn for these places. And that's why I created this group called Intimate Conversations, where and Ellen's been to quite a few of them, where we can come and just openly and safely share with each other. Nothing is shared outside. And it's not just about talking about our problems. I guide women using their intuition to find out what's the vision of your heart would really like in relation to this. And what's the bridge? What's the next step for you to take the vision of, to create what you would really love? So, yeah, but I think it's just so juicy for women to come together and be real with each other. And if you haven't got that, go and find it. Hold it as an intention. You will find it. It's important for us to be able to be real and vulnerable and be nourished and loved up by other people, women.
I have a bit of a challenge here. There's only one other woman on my little block, and I've tried for years. We just do not, I can't talk, it doesn't work. So, and I've done a lot. I mean, I've done a lot of seriously seeking it out, even on Mother's Day. I mean, we had Mother's Day here in the States a couple of weeks ago, a week or two ago. And I was talking with my guy, and we had a little bit of a conversation, shall we put it like that? And in realizing that he is not the father of my children, I am not the mother of his children. All he really owes me is to say, hey, have a good Mother's Day. That's about it. So I deliberately sat and said, well, who can I go? What can I do? My children are thousands of miles away from me. I'll get a phone call, rock on, but what? So I went to a friend of mine, a good friend. I wouldn't call her my bestie, but a good friend in town. Another older woman. I think she's got 6 months on me, an older son who's far away, matched matched who I was with, somebody that didn't have their children in town. You know what I mean? That would hurt too much. There was a Mother's Day concert, and I had a date. I didn't go by myself. I went with this woman, and it was great. And that is what I have been doing. And I am trying to seek that out and because I have to make the effort. My cabin is, and I'm not in a state yet where I feel like I could host a group or something like that. And one thing I did learn after my broken back was not to push my river, to honor my body. If my body says, no, if my body had said, we know you want to see Wendy tonight, but you know what, you're exhausted. I would have had to sit there and go, well, and balance it out. Much as I would have loved to see you, if my body was desperate, I would be asleep right now. As it was, I rested for 3 hours before this, so I'm good now. Um, but that womanhood and realizing that sometimes there's things that we do as women that people just don't get it. You only get it if you're another woman, and then you might not even really get it, but you get it intuitively. There's a sense that you know what's going, and yeah, I miss that. But of course, the first initiation, of course, is accepting yourself as a woman. And what does that mean? And then I know for me, laying in bed, my kids are away, my grandchild's not near me. Who am I? What's my identity? I'm an old woman laying here flat on my back. That was a hard one, but you move through that. And I have one more thing to share. My mother told me, my grandmother used to say it, and it was something I never understood until I got to the age that I'm at. I'm 69. I just turned 69. And what my grandmother used to say was that there's only 20 years between youth and old age, between 50 and 70. And it's very interesting because looking back on my journey from 50 to now, almost that 20 years is very, very different. And of course, I'm who I was. We are always who we are in here. You know what I mean? But I'm not the same person that I was. And I can sit more in my power. I had someone had done an energy study on me, and they discovered I had literally no third chakra energy. Well, that's power, right? I mean, that was a trip, right? And based on my past, I had a very traumatic birth. It makes sense to me, blah, intuitively. But I took a citrine, a yellow stone, and I laid it on my belly button for months, every night, going to sleep to call my power back before I even began to move away from my broken back bed. I had to get into who I was and ground myself. Who am I? Where am I at? I've always had, as far as the sexual thing, when I was turned about 50 or so, I wrote a poem where I said, fuck all these boys, but I want to fuck all these boys. Do you know what I mean? And now, I've been with this guy for a really long time, and we've had many, we've gone through many rivers together, close, apart. Now we have these health issues. I mean, he's had 2 heart attacks. I mean, it might be great, but I really don't want him to die with a smile on his face. You know what I mean? I don't want him to die, I don't want to break my back again, So, okay, but that's not the important thing. Do you know what I mean? I've got equipment. I've got machinery if I really need it. If you catch my drift. No, it's not the same. No, it's not. I get that. But it meets it meets the need, it solves the need, it does what it does, and there it goes, So
Can I
I'm glad to
share
be able to
something with
share it
Ellen?
with my sisters.
I would love to share something with Ellen, as I think that in the chat I put intimacy doesn't need to be
Yes, you did.
necessarily that. So when I hear what you shared, like if you feeling the call to practice this, you sit with your man, just sit together, cross your leg, right? Or even though the best thing is lie down,
Mm-hmm.
like looking at each other, right? Make sure that
Right.
you can see the eye, not that you cannot see like that, right? It really just looking at each other, and it's not look,
Mm-hmm.
okay? The intimacy can transmit through the soul window, and that can make you very juicy because you
Mm-hmm.
could feel this inside the energies like this
Mm-hmm.
and that, and then you just check in together. Do you feel what I feel? Do you feel what
Yeah.
I feel?
We
And it's not
we
it's not
we
like
we
that.
we just kind of look at each other and just laugh a lot because we just know it's just not that's not our that's not our primary thing. And honestly, if we've been so long that
Mm,
if we were anybody else, one or the other would have gone somewhere to look for it somewhere else.
mm,
But that's not who we are, and that's not who we are to each other. He's kept me alive. I've kept him alive. We both knew that this was a divinely arranged relationship. We both had individual, separate things. And so here we are. And trust me, I've tried to do well, I'm just going to leave. And I can't. I can't. The doors don't open, things don't happen. So here I am. So, like I said, we do that occasionally, but really, we're it was almost 2 years ago. The first year was like our acute recovery stage from his heart attack, my back. The second year was kind of the second recovery stage, but we still look at each other and go, "Are you up for this? I don't know. Are you up for this?" So, yes.
You know what I wanted to receive from you somehow, if that is okay.
Hmm.
That feeling, the intimacy that you yearning for, we into your palm. That is power
Hmm.
because you can make the audience on fire
Hmm.
because they can feel you too.
Yes.
And then at that moment straight away, they will feel like, oh, I haven't felt this for a long time. And then you can let them that to move their body if you want, or some people they love to write,
Hmm.
or they can also write a song. They can also write
I,
expression, all kinds of expression. So yeah.
all that. In fact, I'm going to post I'm going to post the open mic that I'm doing on Facebook. I'll advertise it, and I'm going to try to live stream my live performance, and you'll see that I do all kinds of uh, erotic, intimate poetry. And
Ooh.
people like I'm trying to find something short, that I could read to you because I don't want to hijack this, presentation. You know what I mean? But I do all kinds of things, and everyone goes, "Ooh, wow!" She must be like, banging her guy every night or something. And I'm not, I'm trying to find a really. I have one in mind that's really short. So, like I said, I don't want to.
I don't feel that is hijacked, but so can
Okay.
speculate
Okay.
because
Cool.
we're sharing that's the magic of
It,
individual.
yes. Okay. Here we go. Here's my
And
short one
Wendy, you
that I
open
wrote
up another person.
many years ago. Okay. I think you'll appreciate this. Hunger lingers in memory, an amputated arm or leg, neediness, wantingness, more delectable than the first tenuous taste upon the tongue.
Thank you.
And so that's kind of where I have another one that I could do where I involve cooking and all this other stuff. But people that's where it gets expressed. There's passion. There's where it comes out. And yeah, it turns me on. I rock, it's great, and so
I really love that.
thank you for letting me share.
I can see you lit up, your face brighten up, smile.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, living the living example. Oh, I'm honoring both of you so much today. And
I'm honoring you to have us here.
thank you both of you that present here with me. And it's so nurturing for me to really witness two powerful women. Like normally I'm hosting it myself and I'm talking a lot. But today I'm receiving.
Well,
Thank you
thank
so much,
you
Wendy.
so much.
Mm,
It's been a pleasure to be with both of you. And
Thank you. It's nice to talk to two sisters. It's nice to see you again, Wendy.
beautiful.
And it's nice to meet a new friend,
Yeah.
new sister.
yes. I'm looking forward to more juicy creations. And Wendy, and thank you so much. I'm really honoring you for all of this. And I will be sharing. Would you like me to share the Zoom to Sacred Heart Valley?
Yeah, sure.
And how about public?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I've got an intimate conversations coming up on 2 weeks' time.
Okay, great.
Have a look on my page and find that. And
Mm-hmm.
you're welcome.
I will take that information and share it in the Sacred Heart Valley as well, and to invite more women to join and participate in the conversation and the rawness. And of course, Alan, I really love like if you post anything. I don't think that we connect yet, but yes, simply just share and
Okay.
we're just gonna be just going to flow and see what's coming up. And I really wanted to experience that intimacy and the poetry and also other expressions.
Okay.
Because it's sort of like we always going to the body, and there's many more ways that I especially like I may not know others that like cooking. Oh yeah, I can do that too. And then I'm doing this like poetry. Like I have not write poem myself. I write a lot of like experience in terms of emotion feeling to my poems, but not poetry. And I really love that. So yeah. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening. Hope you rest well, Ellen, and much love to everyone. Thank you,
Um,
Lillian.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.